Jimmy Butler is that girl you know who seems to be in a new relationship every time you hear about them. Each relationship supposedly better than the last, each seemingly falling apart worse than the one before. The most recent being his fallout with Pat Riley in the Miami Heat over who has the biggest balls in the building. No pun intended. This news conference will forever be a part of his legacy. Just like him ranting about Tobias Harris post-game. Just like the story of him beating the Wolves starters with the practice squad and screaming, "You can't win without me," and you're soft at both the front office and his teammates.
A lot of it's true.
It seems from his upbringing to his professional NBA career, Jimmy Butler cannot find a home. But why is that? Why does it seem like Jimmy Butler gets kicked out of every place he goes? Jimmy was drafted 30th overall in the 2011 draft by a Chicago Bulls team led by an MVP, Derrick Rose. But by 2015, the narrative of who led the team had dynamically shifted, as Derrick Rose had accumulated numerous injuries that had begun to impact his play at a level nobody could deny.
Drink your water.
His numbers had dwindled to 17.7 points a game and 4.9 assists, which compared to his 2012 MVP season at 25 points per game, near 8 assists and 4 rebounds, the fall off was real.
You're not that guy.
And the fact that Jimmy Butler had officially introduced himself to the league averaging 20 points a game with 6 rebounds and 3 assists, earning himself his first All-Star appearance, there was the perfect storm for drama to brew in the locker room. Eventually, the media leaked out the beef between them, and it was only a matter of time until the Bulls would have to pull the trigger on a trade and send Derrick Rose out of town.
Hit that sub.
On June 22nd, 2016, that's exactly what happened. Rose was traded along with Justin Holiday and a 2017 second-round draft pick to the New York Knicks in exchange for Jose Calderon, Jerian Grant, and Robin Lopez. The team was officially Jimmy Butler's.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Or so he thought, until the Bulls signed Alpha Dogs Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo for the 2017 season, which represented some of the most puzzling free agent signings of the 2010s.
What?
These three guards on the same team really did not make sense. This concoction of personalities was about as successful as the 2012 Lakers, and within the same year, Jimmy Butler was kept out the starting lineup alongside Dwayne Wade for making public remarks about the work ethic of their younger teammates. And when Jimmy decided to take things a step further and take his grievances out to the press when he said, "I believe in the guys in the locker room, yeah, but I also believe that we probably have to be coached a lot harder at times. I know Fred is a laid-back guy and I respect him for that, but when guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do, you gotta get on guys, myself included. You gotta do what you're supposed to do when you're out there playing basketball."
Damn.
Those comments were essentially his ticket out of Chicago. And exactly 1 year after Derrick Rose was traded on June 22nd, the Bulls traded Jimmy to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and a draft pick that became Lauri Markkanen. Now the combo of Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jimmy Butler on paper looked like arguably the best big three in the league. And after their first year together, the future seemed extremely bright, as their Timberwolves went 47-35 in that 2017-2018 season and made the playoffs for the first time since 2004. Shout out Kevin Garnett. Both Towns and Butler made the All-Star team. Wiggins had shown signs of his future potential. Things appeared to be going great. However, right from the start, there were problems in Minnesota. It's become widely known that Andrew Wiggins has an honest issue with exerting effort on both ends of the floor, especially defense, which ultimately led to Jimmy Butler having major issues with him. But that wouldn't compare to how he really felt about Karl Anthony Towns. Butler simply did not like playing with Towns because he felt he was too soft, which ultimately led to this infamous practice video. It's giving Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard. And before the 2018-2019 season, Butler requested a trade from the Timberwolves. It was at this point people were noticing the common denominator that was Butler in these situations. But as always, his talent was too high to deny, and the Philadelphia 76ers made a trade for him on November 12, 2018. Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton were traded in exchange for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Jared Bayless, and a 2022 second-round draft pick.
Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized. My dog in it.
Jimmy's time in Philadelphia might have been short, but it included one of the most intense playoff series to date, which ended in arguably the greatest buzzer beater of all time. His time as a 76er gave us a glimpse into one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history. A core of Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid seemed like the obvious future of not only the team, but the league. But when the offseason came following their tragic Game 7 loss to the Toronto Raptors, Philadelphia had to make a hard choice between free agents JJ Redick, Tobias Harris, and Jimmy Butler. And things got even more complicated when the rift between him and Brett Brown was reported by the media. Butler had heard some of the higher-ups in the organization were concerned that they wouldn't be able to control him, which really rubbed him the wrong way. If anyone knows anything about Jimmy Butler, it's that he doesn't want to be controlled. He wants to be set free. However, the main reason why they had to make this choice was because of their desire to keep Ben Simmons, which in hindsight may have been a terrible decision, but at the time was a no-brainer. Ben Simmons was drawing comparisons to LeBron James, and only a fool of a GM would have traded him away at that time. Nobody saw that fall off coming. And on July 2nd, 2019, the 76ers completed a sign and trade sending Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat, which included Hassan Whiteside to the Trailblazers, Josh Richardson to the Sixers, Maurice Harkless and a future first-round pick to the Clippers, and Myers Leonard to the Heat. Jimmy's time with the Miami Heat will forever go down as one of the most legendary stints a player has had with a team who he didn't win a championship for. From the 2020 championship in the bubble, where Butler carried both the Miami Heat and Rachel Nichols all the way through Disney World to the finals, against those Lakers where he put on a Herculean effort with a stat line of 26.2 points, 9.8 assists, and 8.3 rebounds a game. Then again in 2023, Jimmy Butler dragged the same Miami Heat to the finals against the Denver Nuggets, where they fell 4-1 as he put up 21.6 points, 6.4 assists, and 4.6 rebounds a game. However, in 2024, things were not as upbeat in Miami, as the Heat were having a seemingly off year, until they turned it on and ended up finishing the season 46-26, which secured themselves the 8th seed and a spot in the play-in tournament. Unfortunately, it was during this play-in game against his former team, the 76ers, Jimmy Butler sprained his knee, and even though they did win that game and found a way into the playoffs, he was sidelined for the entire Celtics series where they lost 4-1. All things would have seemingly been positive going into the 24-25 season, as the Heat felt had they had Jimmy Butler in that series against the Celtics, they would have had a real shot at beating them, except they weren't supposed to say it during the series. And during a sideline interview on April 27th, 2024, during Game 3 of that first round of the playoffs against those Boston Celtics, Jimmy Butler rattled off some of the most confident statements we've heard from an NBA player to make in recent memory, at maybe the worst time.
Tell me what confidence you can instill in your fan base that may not believe that you guys had a legitimate shot.
I think we believe. It's everybody else that don't. If I got to hear one more praise about Boston on national TV when we win a game, I'm tired of hearing that, man. It's 1-1. We're going to go up 2-1. See y'all later. Peace.
These comments sent Pat Riley into a fury, which led him to say this.
Is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? You know, if you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut.
And that's where it all fell apart. Jimmy believes he should have been supported by his organization when he says things like that. Pat Riley thinks it was absolutely inappropriate and thinks otherwise. Clearly there's something we don't know, something going on beneath the surface, something we'll probably never hear about.
Let's just drink your water.
But as of January 3rd, 2025, Jimmy Butler has officially been suspended indefinitely for behavior detrimental to the team, and they will seek a trade. Are there teams desperate enough for a near 36-year-old player on the decline commanding $55 million next year? Yes, absolutely. Is the fact that he burned every single bridge with every team he's been with going to be an issue? No, absolutely not. Every team is going to believe they can make it work with him. The question is who? The Warriors, who desperately need to secure a second superstar next to Curry? The Kings, who seemingly have no direction and need to move on from Fox? Or maybe the Grizzlies, who have a plethora of young assets and a need at that position? Only time will tell. From a psychological standpoint, it makes sense that Jimmy Butler does not fear being alone or out on the streets, speaking his mind against his teams. Most people have never felt the desperation of homelessness, and that's something that Jimmy Butler takes pride in. The obstacles he's had to overcome in his life, the fact that he's only had to rely on himself. Jimmy is willing to act in such crazy ways, not only because he's so confident in his ability to ball, his ability to contribute to a team, but because he's willing to accept the consequences, even if it leads to a terrible situation. Because after all, what's worse than being homeless and a kid? Jimmy fears nothing. Alright, that's enough yapping for today.
And if you enjoyed this video, think about watching either of these videos that's on the screen. As always, hit that sub button and turn on notifications. Go out there and do something great.